Alright, let's talk about something you might have heard about on the news. Something that sounds a bit like a construction company or maybe a new type of breakfast cereal. I'm talking about BRICS. Now before your eyes glaze over, stick with me. This isn't just some boring acronym for politicians. Think of it like a new crew on the global block. A squad of countries that decided they were tired of the usual suspects running the show. You know the ones? The G7, the big Western economies that have been calling the shots for like ever. BRICS is basically the world's most powerful group chat, and what they're talking about is changing the game for everyone. So, what is it really? BRICS is an alliance of 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These aren't just random countries. We're talking about nations with huge populations, vast resources, and rapidly growing economies. They looked around and said, hey, we've got a lot of people, a lot of land, and a lot of economic muscle. Why aren't we having more of a say in how the world works? It's like being the biggest, strongest players in the schoolyard, but always letting the same small group pick the teams for kickball. At some point, you're going to want to start your own league. First up, we have B for Brazil. Think of Brazil as the life of the party, bringing the natural resources. It's an agricultural powerhouse, feeding the world with everything from coffee to soybeans. It's also got massive rainforests and a vibrant culture that gives the group a certain flair. Next, we have R for Russia. Russia is the heavyweight with the keys to the energy cabinet. It's one of the world's largest producers of oil and natural gas, which is like having an unlimited gas card in a world that runs on fuel. Russia also brings significant military and political clout to the table, with a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Then comes I for India, the tech genius and the demographic powerhouse of the group. With over 1 billion people and a booming tech industry, India is the world's back office and its future brainpower. It's also the world's largest democracy, which adds a unique political dimension to a group that includes different systems of government. Of course, we can't forget C for China, the undisputed economic giant of the group. China is the world's factory. Look around you right now. Your phone, your laptop, your sneakers. Chances are China had a hand in making them. China is the financial anchor of BRICS, holding massive foreign currency reserves and driving huge infrastructure projects around the world. Finally, we have S for South Africa, the newest member of the crew. South Africa is the gateway to an entire continent. While its economy is smaller than the others, its inclusion was strategic. By bringing South Africa into the fold, BRICS wasn't just adding a country, it was building a bridge to Africa, ensuring the continent's rising economic importance was represented in this new global order. So, how did this whole thing get started? It's actually a funny story. The term BRIC wasn't even invented by the countries themselves. It was coined back in 2001 by an economist at Goldman Sachs named Jim O'Neill. He was basically looking into his crystal ball, or his spreadsheet, and saw that these 4 countries were on a trajectory to become major players in the global economy. He wasn't trying to start a political movement, he was just giving investment advice. It was like a music critic, predicting which 4 underground bands were going to be the next global superstars. At first, the bands themselves weren't even aware of the prediction. But then, they started noticing each other at festivals, saw they were climbing the same charts, and realized they had a lot in common. The leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China took this economic concept and decided to turn it into a political reality. Their first official meeting was in 2009, right in the middle of the global financial crisis. The timing was perfect. The crisis made it painfully clear that the old way of doing things was flawed. It was the perfect opportunity for these emerging powers to step up. In 2010, they invited South Africa to join, officially making it BRICS, and expanding the group's reach to the African continent, solidifying its claim to represent the entire global South. Okay, so they meet up and take nice photos, but what do these BRICS leaders actually do? Well, it's more than just an annual summit and some strongly worded press releases. One of their biggest and most concrete achievements is the creation of the New Development Bank, or NDB. Think of the NDB as the BRICS version of the World Bank. It's a financial institution they created from scratch to fund infrastructure and development projects, not just in their own countries but in other developing nations as well. This is a huge deal. Instead of having to go to Washington to ask for a loan with a bunch of strings attached, countries can now turn to the NDB. Another key initiative is the Contingent Reserve Arrangement, or CRA. This sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It's basically a giant emergency fund that the BRICS countries have set up for themselves. If one of the members gets into financial trouble, say, their currency is crashing, they can get a quick loan from the CRA to stabilize things. Beyond finance, BRICS collaboration extends to a whole range of areas. They hold regular meetings between their health ministers, science advisors, and agriculture experts to share knowledge and coordinate policies. It's a holistic approach. They're not just trying to build an economic bloc. They're trying to build a community of nations with a shared vision for the future of the world. So why should you, sitting at home, care about any of this? Because the rise of BRICS is fundamentally changing the world you live in, whether you realize it or not. For decades, the US dollar has been the king of all currencies. Everything from oil to coffee is priced in dollars. But BRICS is actively working to change that. The BRICS nations often take coordinated stances on major global issues, from climate change negotiations to conflicts in the Middle East. They provide a powerful counterweight to the positions of the US and Europe. The BRICS economies are not just producers, they are becoming massive consumer markets. Companies all over the world are shifting their focus to cater to the growing middle class in India, China, and Brazil. The innovations and trends coming out of these countries, from Chinese social media apps like TikTok to India's digital payment systems, are starting to shape global culture and technology. What happens in the BRICS economies no longer stays in the BRICS economies. It creates ripples that are felt across the globe. Ultimately, the story of BRICS is a story about a changing world. It's about the rise of new powers and the slow erosion of the old order. The group is even expanding, with several other countries lining up to join, which would make the bloc even bigger and more influential. Paying attention to BRICS is like watching the trailer for the next chapter of world history. But one thing is for sure. The world of tomorrow will be shaped not just in Washington and Brussels, but also in Beijing, New Delhi, and Brasilia. And that's a story worth following.